Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon, and I am back with your weekly writing vlog. It has been an interesting week. I actually finished up a theatrical production last week, so I expected to have a little more time to write this week. That's not exactly the way it turned out. I did manage to complete my first goal for this week, which was, of course, to finish the second chapter of The Gospel According to Earth. It's coming along pretty well, but I'm not actually moving through story points as fast as I thought I would. So that novel may wind up being closer to 70,000 words than the original 50 to 60,000 I had expected. We'll see. Sometimes later on, you find yourself looking at a set of plot beats and you're like, oh man, it's going to take forever to go through those, and you find them moving by very quickly. So this is a kind of a toss up thing. It's definitely something we're just going to have to play by ear. That said, I got the second chapter done, so I now have two chapters in the can, and I have uh, a goal of being 2 weeks ahead. So I am more than 2 weeks ahead right now. Do I want to set aside the Gospel According to Earth and focus on doing the editing of Burning Bright? I will get back to that. And the reality is, I didn't get almost any of the new additions that I wanted to write this week actually written down for Burning Bright. I had a goal of doing about 1,000, maybe even 1,500 words. It did not materialize. I did maybe 300 or 400 this week, which is the same as I did last week, so it's not terrible. But I would really like I would like to do more. Um, and the reality is, there's a lot of work, not just on the writing, but on the formatting and a lot of the other incidental work that needs to be done in order to get that book out. And again, I have a goal of publishing that by the middle of the year, so by the end of June. So I really need to drill down on that, and I need to focus more on getting that one thing done. I also need to still commission a cover, and I need to reach out to people. And if just I have commissioned things like logos and the like, basic design work like that in the past, and it can take 2 or 3 weeks to get through all that, depending on how quickly people come back to you. So, how do I want to do the week to come? Well, I don't want to shift all of my focus over to Burning Bright just yet. It turns out that I had not written, I thought I had done this. I actually thought I had, as I was working on my other essays, I had written an introduction for the Gospel According to Earth. And I find introductions to be very interesting bits of writing to do, because you're not really writing an analytical essay, which is one of the things I write most often on my blog, and you're not really um, you're not writing a traditional communication piece. You're trying to set some expectations in an introduction. Now, while it's important to realize that's what you're doing, it's also important to keep in mind not everyone is going to read your introduction, so you can't do too much to set expectations there, because clearly you want your audience's expectations to be set by your story itself. That's the only part you can guarantee they're actually going to engage with. So I like to use my introduction as a way to catch the audience up to what is going on, especially in this case, as I ended Martian Scriptures about a year ago, maybe even 15 or 16 months ago at this point. So they are going to be a little bit out of touch with what's going on and what the general thrust of these Triad World novels is. So I think refreshing the audience on that is goal number one for writing an introduction, at least an introduction to a series like this. Also, I do like to talk to the audience a little bit about the philosophical goals and the outlook of the work, specifically for these books, which have a slightly different edge and tone to them for all, as compared to a lot of what I write. And as you pick up new audience, which hopefully, I hope is a constant ongoing thing, As I pick up more audience, it is my hope to become known for a specific kind of tone and tenor, but I do want to be flexible enough to change that when needed. Particularly, in this case, I'm trying to do a more realistic than, a more true to life than normal depiction of people like soldiers and even civilians under extreme stress. Generally, when I include, I generally try not to include profane or obscene speech explicitly in my books. Now, I may include allusions to it or mentions that people are speaking in this way, but in general, for the tone and tenor that I want for the Triad World novels, I tend to include that kind of talk in the dialogue, because that is, I think, most reflective of the way these kinds of characters behave in real life, and also maintains the sense that we are actually following these characters as opposed to having their actions reported to us after the fact, which is another aspect of what I try to accomplish in the Triad World novels. So I think, the nuances of those approaches are very good to understand, and also very good to articulate to your audience, because your audience may not necessarily realize that they're in for something different than what you would normally give them. So I think it is important for authors to have and exercise the flexibility of doing things outside their normal wheelhouse, but I also think it's only fair that the audience be made aware of what they're buying into. So that's the other thing that I use introductions for. And since it has been a while since I've done one of these stories, I think that the introduction is going to be necessary on both fronts there, just so that people are ready for what's coming. Anyway, I want to get that introduction written, and they are not typically very long documents. They're usually about 800 or 900 words, just introducing the story and what I'm trying to do, and giving that quick recap and the PSA at the end. So that's not a very long thing to write. So I'm going to get that knocked out this week, hopefully tomorrow, which would be the Monday before this goes live. And then after that, I really do want to drill down on Burning Bright. And I think after that, I am just going to make that my primary writing project every week until it is done, or until I get caught up with what I've already written for the Gospel According to Earth. Clearly, I hope to be done with the revisions to Burning Bright long before that. And then, of course, I will send it out to my next set of test readers. And hopefully all that can be sorted fairly quickly. But, because I do only have about 8 weeks to get all this taken care of if I want to get everything out by the beginning of July. So, yeah, it's crunch time in a lot of different ways. But I think that I can write the introduction and 1,000 words of the revisions to Burning Bright easily. So I'm going to make my goal 2,500 words total. Write the introduction, which will be roughly 1,000 words, give or take. Probably a little less if we're totally honest. And then another 1,500 words of the Burning Bright revisions. And if all of that goes the way I hope it will, we will ideally come out very well positioned to go into next week and just focus on hammering out those Burning Bright revisions. I think that I keep saying this, but I think that time management this week will be a little bit easier to handle than previous weeks. So knock on wood, and we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. There's a like button and a subscribe button down there you can use as you see fit, and I will talk to you later.